Eskom is currently implementing stage 6 blackouts from today until Friday morning. Power cuts will then be reduced to stage 5 for the weekend. The power utility says the grid remains under severe strain due to numerous overnight breakdowns. Generating units which are being serviced have also not come back online within the expected time frames. For more on this, we can speak to former Eskom Executive Manager Vally Padayachee. Mr. Padayachee, a very good evening to you. Grateful for your time. So, breakdowns at 6 of Eskom's power stations at the same time. Is the grid basically in free fall at this stage?
A very good evening to you, Temekili, and a very good evening to your viewers as well. And many thanks for giving me the opportunity. Yes, I think we are almost on a free fall. I think given the situation at Eskom currently, we are in the midst of stage 6 load shedding, which could get even worse by Eskom's own admission, given Kuberg probably is coming out of for maintenance tomorrow. So I would argue we are almost on a free fall and maybe almost about to crash land. And I'm very worried.
And put in context then for those of us who don't have the technical knowledge to understand what some of Eskom has put in this statement actually means in practical terms when you look at what it needs in order to power the rest of the country. It says it currently has just over 4,000 megawatts on planned maintenance. But more alarming is the fact that more than 19,000 megawatts are in fact missing from the grid, unavailable due to breakdowns.
I'm glad you asked that question because the response to that would give you context. Just to give you that context, the average demand, and I'm quoting from last night's figure, but it wouldn't be too far off, is about 27,000 megawatts. And we have available also plus or minus about 25,000 megawatts. And then we should also have about 10 to 15% reserve margin, and that should give you a total demand capability of about 30,000 megawatts. But as I said, we have about 25,000 megawatts, and so we have a shortfall of about 5,000 megawatts. And Eskom generally plays it safe and the load shed to the next 1,000. And hence we are load shedding at 6,000 megawatts sort of currently. And as I say, from tomorrow, with Kuberg coming off, that's about 900 megawatts, we could go on to stage 7. If we do not have alternative means of beefing up the supply. And that's also very risky at the moment because, as was mentioned, Eskom does not have the money to buy diesel, and hence we're losing another 2,000 megawatts.
But the challenge with the diesel, firstly, is that we still haven't had a solid plan from the various government departments involved, National Treasury and Public Enterprises, and the entity itself, Eskom, right? But once that diesel is available, the other problem is it's a temporary fix to a more longer-term problem. So how much can we keep pouring? How many more litres, billions of rands, can we keep pouring into that hole?
Let me answer this in two different ways. The first one, it's a very disappointing one because the Minister of Finance has indicated that Eskom's request for 19 billion rands to buy additional diesel may not be granted. So that capability may not be there. But just to get back to the other part of your question, yes, I mean, if the fiscus had to grant the 19 billion rand, I always maintain there's no such thing as a free lunch, and somebody has to pay for that. And at the end of the day, it would be you and I, as the end-use customer, that will eventually have to pay for that, typically.
And when you look at the statement now, Eskom then says it requests the public to exercise patience and tolerance during this difficult period. The average South African reading that today, waiting for their power to go off at 8 p.m. for 2 or 4 hours, depending on where you're based at a time, would say they've been more than patient, have they not?
Absolutely. I think in fairness and and talking as a professional, I think the public has been patient for too long. Now, if you look at what 6,000 megawatts means being shed from the grid, it means that we'll have the frequency of stage 3 load shedding being doubled, and then we'll have load shed for 4 hours 18 times over in 4 days, or alternatively 2 hours 18 times over 8 days. And I think even from stage 2 onwards, the public has been significantly inconvenienced, and there has to be some serious real look by Eskom and government as to how this problem gets addressed, albeit it's going to take about 2 years, right. But I don't see any light at the end of the tunnel given that situation, Temekile.
Vally Padayachee, good to speak to you, sir. Thank you for your time tonight on News at Prime.